President Biden made history today, nominating the first black woman to the highest court in the land, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. Here she is, as she addressed the American people today.
Justice Breyer, in particular, not only gave me the greatest job that any young lawyer could ever hope to have, but he also exemplified every day in every way that a Supreme Court justice can perform at the highest level of skill and integrity while also being guided by civility, grace, pragmatism, and generosity of spirit. Justice Breyer, the members of the Senate will decide if I fill your seat, but please know that I could never fill your shoes.
For more, let's bring in ABC News contributor and professor of history at Johns Hopkins University, Dr. Leo Wright-Rigger. Thank you so much for being here with us. Tell me what this means to you as you listened to the president today and then, of course, listened to Judge Brown Jackson.
Sure. So this is historic. There's no way around it. I mean, you know, there has, in the entire court's history, there has never been a black woman appointed to the Supreme Court, despite that the fact that there have been, you know, innumerable black women that have been qualified to be on the Supreme Court. It wasn't until recently that black women were even seriously considered for the Supreme Court, making the short list. And in fact, Brown Jackson is one of the first black women to make the short list for Supreme Court. It also is historic, I think, in showcasing the breadth of black political thought. So this is the first time. I mean, a couple of years ago, it was kind of insane, almost laughable to imagine two black people on the Supreme Court. And in private circles, there were often conversations about the riskiness of having two black people on the Supreme Court. Well, now that's going to become a reality. And those two black people have very different political orientations. They think about the law, they think about justice, they think about American society and values radically differently, even though they come from the same racial community and in fact have very similar backgrounds. So we're going to see, I think, a number of historic events, a number of historic moments that come out of the simple nomination of a black woman to the Supreme Court for the first time in the court's entire history.
So let me ask you this, Leah, as you look at her background and we learn more about her, we listened to how humble she was today and what she told the American people, yet she did get pushback from members of Congress even before her nomination. Republicans criticizing the president for his vow to nominate the first black woman to the highest court. What do you think this says about where we are as a country right now?
Well, I think a lot of the pushback that Brown Jackson received is what we might call cynical political posturing. We know that we're in a highly polarized and partisan environment, and that in fact, any nominee that Biden put forward was going to result in some kind of pushback, some kind of challenge. You know, certainly there would be degrees of challenges. Do we put up a significant fight or do we put up a little bit of a fight? So that does matter. But we knew that anyone that was going to be put forward, even kind of the most mundane, the most neutral of appointments, would receive challenge. The other thing to keep in mind, I think, here, though, is that at no point in time have the people putting forward Supreme Court nominees not considered things like gender, race, religious orientation, all of those things in backroom private dealings. All of those things have always been on the table, particularly at a period in time where people, because of their race, because of their skin color, because of their sexual orientation, were banned from participating in the nomination process or excluded from participating in the political process. So these kinds of conversations, in fact, are not new. They're not, different from old. But I do think that it matters, in fact, that Brown Jackson has actually come before Congress, has come before Republicans, and has made her way through the process, very similar process, although certainly not this public, but has made her way through similar processes with very little pushback. But I do think, and it's going to be important to pay attention to this, that it's a signal, the challenges that she's receiving, it's a signal for how partisan and how polarized we are in this moment.
Well, and that leads me to my next question. You know, this was Biden's campaign promise, right? Why do you think that this Supreme Court nomination took so long in the first place?
Well, you know, there are a number of things, and there are a number of reasons that go into selecting a Supreme Court justice. But when it comes to Black women, historically, when a Black woman's name has even been brought up in the circle of the Supreme Court, there is a way in which, by virtue of that person being a Black woman, they are invalidated. So Black women are seen as less than. They are seen as unqualified, even though they are often overqualified for the position. They have to jump through far more hurdles, as we've seen, because of the fact that this is the first time in the Supreme Court's history that a Black woman has come forward, has even made it this far in the process. So one of the things that we're seeing here, and I think that is worth acknowledging beyond the symbolism, beyond the symbolic value of this appointment, is the very real action of righting a wrong that has persisted despite progress, despite legislation, despite significant changes in public opinion. So righting a wrong and making right something that has been long overdue. So here is a Black woman who is highly qualified, in fact, again, overqualified, who is finally going to be put forward as deserving to be on the highest court of the land, most powerful court of the land.
Well, times are definitely a-changing, and as we say that and witness that, how do you think just the overall impact will be, this nomination, what it will have just on Black women everywhere in all types of professions?
Well, the largest impact that it's going to have is deeply symbolic, but I want to emphasize that the symbolism of putting a Black woman in a space where Black women have long been excluded, even banned, denied, even though that's incredibly symbolic and powerful, there's also a way in which it is deeply significant, because it is essentially the breaking down of barriers, pre-existing barriers that have persisted for generations. So it suggests that Black women, in fact, don't have to go through these hurdles, have to jump through these loops. So it is a shattering of the glass ceiling, not just for gender, but also of race. So that is incredibly important. But I also think at a moment where the Supreme Court has been besieged by questions of partisanship, of political bias, of problematics, right, of enormous drama, the likes of which we have not seen in several generations, that Brown Jackson, I think, appointment could be a very significant and bright light for the court. That in fact, it can be representative of the possibilities, right, of democracy and how things can work when we work together and when we right historic wrongs.
Dr. Leah Wright-Rigueur, always great talking to you, especially on a day like today. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.